The Occoquan Radio Podcast is a private production and is not affiliated with the town of Occoquan. Opinions expressed on the podcast are solely those of its host and guests. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the August 24th, 2025 episode of the Occoquan Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Ernie Porta, bringing you 10 to 15 minutes of irregular, unscheduled updates on things Occoquan and beyond. This episode will cover a few town updates, the continuing 1805 saga of Nathaniel Ellicott's new road in our history segment, address what part of that road is called today in our rumor mill shredder entry, and close as usual with the upcoming activities in town. Make sure you don't miss an episode by searching for us on the podcasting app of your choice and hitting the subscribe button. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode of the Occoquan Radio Podcast. There's not a great deal to report on in town business for the past week. We were informed that demolition for the mill at Occoquan project is expected to start this fall or winter. It will be scheduled to avoid any disruption of town businesses or activities during the winter holidays, which likely means nothing material occurs until January, in my opinion. Additionally, we sometimes get questions about the burned-out structure at 116 and 118 Washington Street. Town recently received a site plan application for the property, which contemplates 5 townhouses on the site. Last, there was a relatively brief power outage in town last week that generated the usual speculation on causes. It was not, however, attributable to any infrastructure or other damage in town, but rather due to some down lines outside of town. In our history segment last week, we discussed the opening on August 19, 1805, of a new mail stage from Alexandria to Dumfries via Occoquan. The route used 10 miles of new road funded by Occoquan's Nathaniel Ellicott, and bypassed the town of Colchester on the north shore of the Occoquan, near where Route 1 is today, and through which the mail stage used to pass. This new and elegant road, according to the Alexandria Daily Advertiser, made, quote, the difference between this place, Alexandria, and Dumfries somewhat shorter and infinitely better, end quote. Allegedly attracted in part by the new road, a tavern keeper, Alexander Gordon, advertised that he was relocating from Woodbridge to Occoquan Mills, noting that in making a new road leading to this place of unequaled firmness and excellence, he had not doubt but that the route by Occoquan needs only to be known to entitle it a decided preference to that by Colchester. As I mentioned in passing last episode, not everyone was thrilled with the new road. This was hinted at by the editor of the Alexandria Daily Advertiser on Wednesday, August 28th, when he posted the following, and I quote, "The editor acknowledges receiving a long reply to an article which appeared in this paper on Monday the 19th instant under the head Communication, which is on a subject too uninteresting to his subscribers to publish. At the same time, he deems it his duty to inform the writer that the communication did not come from the quarter he alludes to, neither is the writer interested in any shape or manner whatever in the subject of controversy." This posted notice by the editor suggests that the individual whose long reply had not been printed had claimed that the original announcement of the new mail stage was done by someone with a vested interest in its success. Was the individual suggesting that it was Nathaniel Ellicott himself? We cannot know for certain, but the editor felt it necessary, for whatever reason, to inform the author of the unpublished long reply that he was incorrect in making such assertions, and the editor did so directly in the newspaper, probably because the individual had never signed their name to the long reply. This short rebuttal prompted another lengthy diatribe against the characterization of the new road from the same unnamed individual, this time written in a manner, presumably by not mentioning anyone by name, that passed muster with the editor. Signed One of the Community and dated August 30th, 1805, it reads as follows. The road from Alexandria to Dumfries. Mr. Snowden, on the 23rd instant, I took the liberty of sending you a reply to the communication on this subject inserted in your paper of the 19th. In yours of the 28th, I remark that it will not be published because the subject is not deemed sufficiently interesting to the public. In this I beg leave to differ from you. The communication you observe did not come from the quarter to which allusion was made, and the writer is in no way interested in the subject of controversy. This, as you so stated, I have no doubt is the case. But the writer, whoever he may be, announces at the head of one of your columns a change in the great road leading from one extremity of the Union to the other. And he tells the world that by means of a new and elegant road, Opened at the expense and by the exertion of an individual, the distance is lessened, the way made infinitely better, that it leads through a well-cultivated country, passes over good bridges, etc. And he heads his communication with the following words in Italiae, Mail Stage by Occoquan. What was the intention of the writer who made this communication? It is not for me to say, but what its tendency is no man can mistake. Is it not to advise the traveler to take this new road because it is shorter and better? Is it not to insinuate that the water courses are well bridged on this route and not on the other, and that this has become the main post road, and that the other has been abandoned as such by the proper authorities? Is it not to eulogize an individual for thus accommodating the public in so many points by his own exertions at his own expense, and without any private or interested view? Now all those things I do most positively and unequivocally deny, and should the traveler not have the means of judging between those who assert and those who deny, on a subject so interesting to him as the road he rides on, I have too much confidence in your impartiality, sir, to believe that you will refuse it. The first and principal question is, which is the nearest route from Alexandria to Dumfries, by Colchester or by the Occoquan Mills? Any map of adjacent country will show that a straight line drawn from Alexandria to Dumfries will cross the Occoquan River considerably below Colchester, and most particularly beg to refer to a survey made by authorities about 10 years ago, when a question was discussed in the Virginia legislature as to locating the district court of the 3 neighboring counties. Here it may be seen how much below Colchester the straight line crosses, and that the distance from Alexandria to Dumfries as laid down on the line is exactly 20 3/4 miles. It will not be denied that the Occoquan Mills lie in this river at least 2½ miles above and to the westward of Colchester, nor that the course of the river is nearly straight here. The road to Colchester already diverges too much to the westward, and the distance is considerably lengthened by it. Still, it is asserted that by making it diverge more to the westward and cross 2½ miles higher up, is it shortened. This is indeed a paradox. The fact is that the mill road is from 3 to 4 miles longer than the post road. It is taken out of the post road at about 4 miles to the northward of the Occoquan, and returned to it about the same distance to the southward of the river. Between those 2 points the post road runs 8 miles, the mill road at least 11, the difference 3 miles. More than 1/3 of the distance would be added by taking this last mentioned route. How then are the public indebted to the exertions of an individual? It would be an awkward thing for a traveler from Boston to Charleston to have many of these debts to pay. Suppose only 1/2 of the individuals near his route should insist upon laying him under this sort of obligation, and induce him to pass their mills and stores to acknowledge his gratitude. The distance by the post road is 1,162 miles, 1/2 of which is 581 miles. Now as 11 is to 8, so is 581 to 811. Difference 230 miles only, which our traveler would have to ride out of his way between Boston and Charleston to thank those who had so indulgently accommodated him. The mill road is not better than the post road between the points in question, nor is it so good. It leads through a country infinitely more unlevel, but having been lately cut, wears for the moment a newer garb nicely fitted to captivate the unwary. At each point where it has been taken from the post road, special pains have been bestowed to lead off the unsuspicious stranger. A spacious avenue, smooth as a bowling green, invites him to enter. And lest this should not be enough, a handsome signpost is planted encroaching on the post road to keep it out of view. No sooner, however, has he fairly embarked than he has to encounter at almost every step hills, mortices, and straits scarcely wide enough to admit the passing of one carriage by another. The road is nowhere in those places more than 18 feet wide, and in many not so much. At one place, for the extent of 1/2 mile, on the north side of the Occoquan and near that river, I do aver from personal inspection that it is impossible for carriages to pass each other without taking the horses out, and even then not without great danger. Such is the narrowness of the way, such is the precipice above, and such is the abyss below, closely bordering on each side, As a proof, let me state a fact. On the 27th of this month, the stage full of passengers met at this place a wagon loaded with wood. The stage was stopped to pass was presently found impossible, nor could it be effected but by unloading the wagon, taking off the wheels, and removing it by hand. As to bridges, the only place on the post road which needs a bridge is at Colchester, and here travelers pass on an excellently strong and safe bridge, 650 feet long. Next, as to the insinuation that this road by the mills has become the post road, the proprietor at the mills, the individual by whose exertions this, quote, new and elegant road, end quote, has been made, and the carrier of the mail of the United States on the route from Alexandria to Dumfries are one and the same person. That part of the road north of the Occoquan is a private road, authorized by no legal authority. Constant attempts have been made during now a course of 10 years to get the court of the county in which it lies to open and support it. They have as constantly refused to do so, knowing that it was of no consequence to any but the individual in question. It leads to his mill, his store, his bridge, his dwelling house. At length he has opened it at his own expense, and strange but true, on the 19th instant he commenced, in violation of the law, in the teeth of his contract, against usage, and against the safety of the public property committed to his charge, to take the great mail of the United States off the route designated by law and contract, to leave out a post town, named as such in the law, Colchester, to carry the Colchester mail twice a day, etc., every day, in the hands of a boy, on horseback, in a bridle path, 3 miles from the mail stage and 3 miles back, repeated, make 12 miles a day, and this practice has continued for 1 week, braving the consequences and setting the laws at defiance, since which I have been informed some regulation of the Post Office Department has made him change his conduct in part, but that he is still playing the same game as to half the road. How long he will continue to ride superior to the law, and regardless of the restrictions of his contract, how long the officer at the head of that department will permit such things to be done, or how long the community will suffer offenses of this nature to pass without information and prosecution, time will show. One of the community, August 30th, 1805. This was printed in the September 4th, 1805 edition of the Alexandria Daily Advertiser. This was not the end, however, of the verbal jousting over Ellicott's new road. More will follow in future episodes. I encourage everyone who is interested in learning more about Occoquan history to visit Occoquan's Millhouse Museum and consider joining the Occoquan Historical Society. You can find more information at www.occoquanhistoricalsociety.org. That's the intro sound for our Rumor Mill Shredder segment. This is where we pay homage to the fact that while for much of its history Occoquan was a prosperous mill town, the only mill in operation today is the rumor mill. Here we take on urban legends, myths, rumors, misconceptions, or other similar topics that need straightening out. The road on the north side of the Occoquan River that branches off Route 123 and dead ends at the northern side of the footbridge is part of the road built by Nathaniel Ellicott that we have been discussing in our history segment the last 2 episodes. As regular listeners may recall, it used to bring Route 123 across a 1-lane bridge where the footbridge is today and through the streets of town. When Hurricane Agnes wiped out the bridge in 1972, Route 123 was rerouted to where it crosses the river today. If you look at some older street maps, and in this case by older I mean just a decade or 2, you might see that stretch of dead-end road that used to be part of Route 123 listed as State Route 722. I myself used to refer to it that way and characterize the road as permanently so dedicated. That's actually not the whole story, however. Turns out that State Route 722 in Virginia is a secondary route designation that is applied to multiple discontinuous, i.e. dead-end road segments, in numerous counties in Virginia. Consequently, there are multiple State Routes 722 in Virginia at any given time, some with additional names like Abernathy Road or Beulah Road. Our nearby .29-mile segment is unnamed and runs from the Prince William County line, roughly the north edge of our footbridge, to State Route 123. Now let's close out with upcoming events. Gloria Zamora is the featured artist this month at the Artist Undertaking Gallery. The Loft Gallery will continue its Triptych 2, a three-artist show featuring the works of George Jones in turned wood, Kaja Kuhl in ceramics, and Maureen Stoney in fused glass. On August 30th, Laura Jones Fine Art Gallery will be holding painting classes for youth 6 and up from 12:30 to 2:30 and adults 16 and up from 3:30 to 6:30. And last, don't forget Gretchen Herring's Twisty Thursdays yoga class at Occoquan VFW Post 7916 on August 28th from 5:45 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. Extra mats are available if you don't have one, and the cost is $22 with a discount of an additional $4 for VFW members. For information on these and other events in Occoquan, go to www.visitoccoquanva.com/events. Again, that's www.visitoccoquanva.com/events. That brings us to the end of this episode of the Occoquan Radio Podcast. Make sure you don't miss an episode by searching for us on the podcasting app of your choice and hitting the subscribe button. I'm your host, Ernie Porta. Thank you for listening.